Lessons from Behind My Chair is a podcast that aims to fill your cup with a fresh squeezed dose of clarity, courage, and bliss. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as rate the show 5 stars and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, let's get into the show.
Hey, love. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons from Behind My Chair. I'm your host, Angela B. Fuller, master hairstylist turned certified life coach. I am so excited to be here today. It seems like it's been so long, and in actuality, it's only been 1 week. But I've spent most of this week in deep thought, just contemplating what's next for me and how that next is going to unfold. So today is not only a juicy episode, but it's also a personal episode. And so I want to invite you to tag along with me, and at the end of this episode, I hope to offer something of value to my listening audience. But before I jump in, I have a pop question for you, and I want you to marinate a little bit on this pop question. And my pop question is, how often do you take the time to meditate? I want you to think about that as I go through this episode, and just come up with something, and do not let that something be, I don't meditate at all. I want you to think very seriously about this question, and if there isn't a time in which you devote to meditation, I want you to start to consider. So here we go. Earlier this week, I decided that I was going to really focus on meditating every morning, even if it's 5 minutes. I decided I'm going to give myself 5 minutes of quiet time to listen to that still small voice that's inside of me. And I didn't go into my meditation with an agenda, but at the same time, I knew that there was going to be an outcome. You know, how many of you sometimes take time to just go into deep thought, just to kind of be the observer of your life, not with any particular agenda, but just hope that when it's all over, that you come out with something, that you come out with a little more than what you had going in. And so that was my experience in my meditation earlier part of the week. And I came to understand that for myself, I have a tendency to put a lot of time into growing, into growing my business, into growing and nurturing my friendships and my relationships, the relationships that's in my life. I also put a lot of time into growing the environment of where I live, my home, and who I allow into my home, and the mode of operandum when I am at home. And I realized that it would be a good thing for me to put that same time into myself, into turning inward and examining what comes up when I allow myself, my brain, to shut down. And I just focus on the silence. I focus on my breathing. I focus on the space and the energy that surrounds me. And I had some very interesting things that came up. When I began my meditation, I focused on my breathing. And I took a lot of deep inhaling and a lot of deep exhaling, to the point where I could almost feel the silence and the energy of the space that surrounded me. And then I allowed myself to feel beyond arm's length. And each time I focus on the space around me, I began to feel so expansive in a way that I've never felt before. Even when I was hitting my goals and achieving certain goals, certain life goals, certain career goals, I had never felt such expansion in my own space. And I just found that to be so profound. I want to encourage each of you to take time to meditate. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, begin with 5 minutes in the early morning or 5 minutes just before bed, to just quiet yourself, quiet the conversation in your head, and just be with yourself. Be in that space. Be in that space of peace. Be in that space of expansion. Be in that space of abundance. And know that it's okay to just be. That we don't always have to be doing, have to be planning, have to be strategizing. That being quiet and turning within is just as important, just as effective as tracking and meeting your goals. One thing I found to be very interesting when I was meditating is how easily I am distracted, how I struggle with controlling the situation. I was amazed at how difficult it was for me not to control, how difficult it was for me to try and control where my mind went, where my thoughts went, as opposed to just allowing my mind to go where it wanted to go and allowing my thoughts to just go where it wanted to go. It made me very uncomfortable not to feel like I was in control. That feeling of letting go, that feeling of not being able to determine where my thoughts went, that was very uncomfortable for me. And so what I did was I just stayed with my breathing. It's strange. I focused on my breathing, and yet I didn't focus on my breathing. It was like I was just allowing my breath to take me where it wanted to go, as opposed to me forcing and controlling where I wanted it to go. And that let me know that the best experience aren't always the most controlled one. Sometimes I think we have to allow ourselves to just go with the flow. I can remember in my earlier years, my early 20s, that would always be my MO. Oh, I'm just going with the flow. And during my meditation this week, I found out how far away I had gotten from that. But I also found that I had more ease in my life when I was okay with going with the flow. Because even though I went with the flow, I still allowed myself to pre-plan my activities. So even though I was going with the flow, it wasn't just haphazard. I went with the flow with more ease. And I found that the outcome was always more pleasurable. And so those of you who are not meditating, I hope sharing my experience encourages you to begin the process of meditation, to begin to allow yourself to sit in your own silence, to begin to give yourself permission to quiet the noise in your head, and give yourself permission to listen to that quiet voice within your heart space. And I can almost guarantee that you will come out of that meditation a different person, a more relaxed person, a more calm person, a more aware person. And as you continue to meditate, you'll reach that state quicker. So I hope this episode has been helpful. I hope this lesson has shed some light on how important it is to just sometimes go with the flow, and also to give yourself permission to quiet that loud voice in your head and listen to that still small voice in your heart. Until next time, keep meditating and keep allowing yourself to go with the flow. Okay? I'll talk with you next time. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow along on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all at Angela B. Fuller, and join us every Sunday morning at 7 for new episodes. Okay? Bye.